Okay, everybody, welcome to a new training session. The title of this session is Cause and Effect. Now, this training was put very early in the program because it is important to understand that as we start this exciting journey of becoming a trader, all of us ultimately want something a little different. But regardless of what we ultimately want, it's going to revolve around more freedom. And the process of starting this journey and you reaching your goal, this is not going to be a function of luck. It's not going to be chance. It's not going to be whether or not you're talented enough. It's not going to be whether or not you were born under the right star. It is going to be a function of this session and what we're talking about here. And I want to strike this balance of not being overly dramatic, but I really want to stress the importance of the information in this training. Because in order to make it as a trader, in order to get what you want out of this program and out of trading, we need this. And if we don't have this, we're not going to make it. And the beautiful thing about this training is that once we understand this and start applying it to our trading business, we can actually apply it to every area of our life. And it'll be a beautiful thing. So let's just make sure we're paying very close attention. Let's get locked in and let's have a great training session. Here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to unpack and talk about why people fail to reach their goals and ultimately how we get on the right side of this thing. So let's jump right into it and let's unpack this question. Why do so few people reach their goals? Everybody has goals. Everybody has something that they're going for. Typically, as we get a little older in life, life tends to beat some of that down and beat it out of us. So maybe our goals get smaller and we don't dream as big. But ultimately, we all have something that we want to get. And like I said, early on in life, it tends to have bigger dreams. And then as life goes on, it's very normal to start scaling that back and coping and changing our goals so that we think these things are more realistic. And it does seem like a minority of people live the life that they actually want. And so why do so few people reach their goals? The first idea I want us to get as a foundation is that the world is governed by cause and effect. As people, we can disagree about virtually everything, and we can believe different things to be true. You might take somebody who's very religious and believes that there is higher power and that there's a creator and that there's an afterlife and that there's a heaven and that there's a hell, and they believe that to be true. And there can be other people that believe everything around us happened by natural processes and there is no higher power, and that once this life is over, that's all there is. It's darkness after this. And we can debate these things and we can have millions of people that believe one side or the other. And it can be extremely difficult to understand which one of those are 100% true. But regardless of all the things that we can disagree about, there are certain things that are true. And at a baseline, we all are stuck on this physical plane of existence. Whether or not there's something else, whether or not there's higher power, for the sake of this training, it doesn't really even matter, because the reality is we are stuck on this physical plane of existence. And on this physical plane, there are laws, there are rules, there are things that we cannot break. There are laws like gravity, where if you step off of a building, whether or not you're an atheist, whether or not you're a Christian, whether or not you believe in gravity, it doesn't matter. You are going to fall. And of these laws that govern the universe, one of these principled laws is the law of cause and effect. Now, at a basic level, very easy to understand. If you eat like crap, you're going to feel bad. If you expose yourself to the sun, your skin's going to get tanned. If you go out there and get a good night's sleep, you're going to feel good. If you exercise, you're going to get strong. So on and so forth. Cause and effect. You do this, you get that. Now, the craziest lies are the ones that we tell ourselves. Most of us are probably out there thinking that we're pretty honest people and we try to treat other people with honesty. But we don't do that with ourselves. We lie to ourselves. And the craziest lies revolve around the fact that cause and effect does not apply to us, that we can do actions and that we don't have to deal with the consequences, that we can eat these things, that we can, skip our workouts, but we're still going to have the body and the health that we really want, that we can go out there in our trading, make very bad decisions, break our risk parameters, but we're still going to make it to this beautiful life of trading freedom. Any area of our lives, we can apply this and the same kind of logic. And this goes back to these crazy lies that we tell ourselves where we can do these things, but somehow we don't have to deal with the effects of it. We're all guilty of this. There's a very almost chilling verse in the Bible. If you read the good book, it tells you that be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Sowing and reaping is planting seeds and then having the harvest. And whatever we do, we have this beautiful freedom to choose to do whatever it is that we want. But we don't have that same freedom to choose what the outcomes are going to be and what the results of those are going to be. We can plant whatever seeds we want, but if we plant corn, we have to get corn. We can't plant oranges and get corn. And ultimately, we could look around, and this is how most people live their life, doing these crazy actions, planting these very crazy seeds, and then having these beautiful castles in the sky that ultimately they think they're just going to end up here. Having horrible financial decisions, making horrible choices, but thinking that they're going to have financial security somewhere down the road. But this is not a function of whether or not things are just going to work out. This is the basic universal law of cause and effect. Now, taking this further of, why do so few people reach their goals? It's been my observation that it really has to do with three things. It has to do with understanding, it has to do with our memories, and it has to do with compounding. If we get these three things right, then we get on the right side of this universal law. And if we're not aware of these things, or if we don't understand them, if we don't get these three things right, then we're on the wrong side of this, and it's working against us. We're stepping off the building, just continually falling because we're fighting against gravity. And so let's dive into these three things and understand them. The first one being understanding. The most important thing that we can acquire is understanding. The more that we understand, the more the world opens up to us. And we can think about this like there is this radar that is responsible for everything that we are capable of. Everything that we're capable of knowing, everything that we're capable of experiencing, everything that we could understand about the world is all here. And then as we personally gain more understanding, the more of the world opens up to us. The more we understand how it works, how our place in it, how to get what we want out of it. But ultimately, what happens with most people is we very early in life stop the process of understanding. We're young, we're curious, we learn a lot of things, potentially pick up a lot of limiting beliefs, and then maybe after high school or maybe after some university, we just stop that process. We get into ruts of just doing the same exact things, building echo chambers, never experiencing new things, never purposefully learning new things, and then we just stop. And all of what is available to us in this world, we never tap into because we stop that process and we just become stagnant. And we can think about this very simply. If there's somebody out there that is making $30,000 a year, and if there's somebody out there making $150,000 a year, that person that's making $30,000 a year, barely making ends meet, they're not making $30,000 a year because they want to. They're making $30,000 a year because they don't understand how to make $150,000 a year. And the person who's making that 150 is not necessarily better than that other person. They just understand how to make more money. If you take somebody that has health issues, they're overweight, they're not really comfortable in their skin, they're lethargic, they don't have the health that they want. And you take somebody who's in great health, vibrant, they have very comfortable in their skin, they have the body, the health, the vitality that they want. The person who has health issues, they don't want to have health issues. They don't understand how to move their body, how to feed their body, what to put into it, how to treat it. Because if they understood how to, then they would have great health. We could go through the list with a lot of different things, virtually every area of life. When people have things they don't like, maybe like a stressful relationship, where the relationships they have in their life are burdensome, they suck their energy, they're not fulfilling. But then you take somebody who has great relationships, that's just loves the people in their life, very fulfilled, very happy. The person with stressful relationships doesn't want to be stressed out with everything in their life, but they don't understand how to treat people, how to treat them, and they don't understand how to treat other people, and they don't understand how to be vulnerable or whatever it is. They don't understand how to have good, purposeful, meaningful relationships. We don't want to ever forget this as a concept, because there is so much that all of us are capable of knowing and capable of understanding. And when we're at these areas in our life where maybe we aren't happy with a certain result, it is a function of there's things about that we don't understand. And then if we understand those things, the world opens up. And this is what we're talking about in this training right now. This is a perfect example. There are concepts that we're going to go through and talk about that potentially you have never heard before. You don't, up until this point, you didn't understand them. And as we go through it, this is going to be very eye-opening to, wow, yeah, this is it. I am so guilty of this. This is exactly what I've been doing. This is exactly what I've been struggling with. But once you understand it, now we can get out there and tackle it. And if you don't understand it, then you just keep being confused about what's going on and making the same mistakes. So we want to make sure that we get this idea that with all of our get understanding. The second thing is memory. Fundamentally, our memories are broken, but we typically think that they are strong and that they are accurate. And I'm not talking about just the ability to recall information. You know, most people would probably think, Corbs, I know my memory's broken. I don't have a good memory at all. I can't ever remember anything. But what I'm specifically talking about is the stories that we tell ourselves and how we remember how we got to where we are and how we recall the past events. The very nature of our memories is, you know, we could say broken, but potentially it's working exactly as it should. It's just not built for recalling things accurately. If you experience something, your brain goes through this process of taking in that information and chunking it down to these little snippets that then get stored. And then when you rely on recalling that information, we all like to think we remember what happened. We're accurately telling ourselves the right story of what's going on. But the truth is, it's not. It's very broken. It is very fallible. But if we're not aware of this, we just trust the stories that we tell ourselves, and they're not true, they're not accurate, and they don't lead us to getting any better results. We're going to look at this in a lot more detail, but understand as a starting place, go with me here, that our memories are broken, but we think that they're accurate. The last thing is compounding. Compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. If you understand it, you earn it. And if you don't understand it, you pay it. It's been credited with Albert Einstein as making this statement. But whether or not that's true, this is a very powerful thing, that this idea of compounding, it is a wonder of the world. And if you get this, you earn it. And if you're not aware of this, and if you don't understand this, then you have to pay it. So this idea of compounding, I want to break this down a little bit, and let's look at the power of compounding. When we think about the compounding, it probably comes to mind compounding interest. And usually when people talk about compounding, they talk about money. But let's look at a simple example. I'd like to hire you for 30 days, and I'm going to give you two options. Either I'm going to pay you $10,000 a day, or I'll pay you 1 penny on day one, and then for 30 days, I'll double it every day. If you're looking at this and you're thinking about it, it probably seems really obvious. The idea of $10,000 per day for 30 days, or a penny doubled, it's an obvious choice. I want to take the $10,000 a day, because a penny doubled every day, what's that going to be? A few $100s? And if you don't understand the power of compounding, yeah, this seems like an obvious choice. But if we were to break this down and just look at it, a penny every day for the first 10 days doubled, it's $5.12. It's nothing. And if you went the other route where you were making $10,000 a day, after 10 days, you'd be up $100,000 already. Fast forward 20 days, still nothing. We have $5,000 at the end of 20 days. If we went the other route, we'd be sitting on $200,000 at this point. The last chunk of time here, things get crazy all of a sudden. From day 21 to day 30, now we're sitting at $5.3 million. $5 million more than if we went the other route. You can look at these numbers, you can see how it all checks out. What's going on here? What's going on here is the power of compounding. And ultimately, this is what it looks like. What we're seeing visually here is exactly what's going on this graph, but just displayed differently. Where for most of the time that's going on, something very unimpressive is happening. And then in a very small chunk of time, things get out of control and they get really crazy. And there's this compounding effect that happens where at a certain point, things get nuts and things hockey stick with results. And The purpose of this is not to, fill our head with ideas that we need to double our money every day. The purpose of this is to understand kind of the secret here is that time compounds money. Most people understand that. But money is not the important thing here. Time compounds everything. It doesn't just exclusively compound money. Time compounds everything. Every time you make a choice, every time you make a decision, there is a compounding effect that is going to take place. When you look at your life or you look at other people, there's some version of this portion of the curve that's being displayed, this portion of results that are happening. You might look at somebody that is able to do incredibly physically amazing things, able to run marathons or do triathlons or something that's incredibly difficult. That person is not just built different. That person is not just lucky. That person didn't just wake up with the ability to do these feats of strength. And that person who's able to run marathons or do triathlons, it has nothing to do with what they ate yesterday. It has nothing to do with the workout that they did yesterday. What you're seeing is the end result of way back here, starting the process, starting to move their body, starting to eat right. And then this long process here that ultimately culminates with this amazing skill. And all of this is flipped around. When somebody is not happy with their body and they're 15 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds overweight, it has nothing to do with what they ate yesterday. It has nothing to do with the not going to the gym today. It has everything to do with back here, those few extra calories, those few extra cheat meals, those late night pizzas, that there's this compound effect of all of those decisions that lead to this result. And it's very normal for people just to get these areas of their life where they have these results that they're not happy with, and they don't even know how they got there because they can't remember what happened all the way back here because our memories are broken. And we're dealing with these results that have nothing to do with what's going on right now. It's the harvest that we're reaping from all the seeds that we planted way back in here. Now, as I just said, our memories are broken, and time compounds all of our actions, but time has the inverted relationship to our memories. So when we do something, we remember it very strongly. But as time goes on, our memories just dive off the deep end to where they're at a certain point almost useless. And then this is the dynamic. This right here is the thing that we just need to master. We need to understand. We need to never forget this right here. The relationship that time has on our memory, and it has on compounding things. It has on the effects that we deal with. And what ends up happening is that when we take an action, as soon as that action happens, we have a very strong memory, but there's no results yet. There's no effect. The day that you decide, I'm going to eat healthy and start taking care of my body, you remember that. You remember making that decision, but nothing's changed. You don't look any different. You don't feel any different. The day you decide you want to be a trader, you join this program, you start the training sessions, you remember making those decisions, but you're not a full-time trader yet. Nothing's changed. Because when we take an action, we remember it very strongly, but there's no results yet. Now, that same action that we take, it has the ability to have this exponential effect at some point in the future. But when we have that great result from something, or that terrible result from something, there's almost no memory of what caused it, of how we got here, of what's going on. Because of this dynamic of time separating out causes from effect and how memory works on time, this is the trap that people fall into, or this is the power that people use to get what they want. So when we're talking about why people fail, it really boils down to these two things. The first one is this: people start a journey, but they can't see the cause from the effect in the very short term, so they quit before they reach that point where the effect starts to compound. So people start a journey of trading. They go through the first few sessions, and then as they're doing these things, great actions that have the potential to build and to compound if they stick with it and lead them to the financial future they want, that lead them to the trading success that they want. But in the short term, they don't see those results. So they just quit. Then they go try something else. They go try a new system. They go try a new method. They go try a new line of business. And every time you quit it, this whole graph has to restart because all of those seeds that you planted, time could not compound any of that. So then we have to just restart the whole thing, and we never get to the place of the results that we want. People start a diet. They start a diet, they start going to the gym, they start eating right. They're doing these actions that have the potential to get them to the health and to the vitality and to the body that they want. But in the short term, they're not happy with the results that they're getting, so they just quit. They just yo-yo diet. They just go back to old habits. And then it just restarts everything again. Those beautiful actions that they took are almost meaningless because in the short term, there's almost no effect because time hasn't compounded it yet. So very important to understand. As we start a journey, we have to start it, and there has to be almost this element of faith, of understanding this graph, of understanding how the world works, that the things I'm doing right now, I'm not seeing the ultimate end results, but these will build. They will strengthen. I'm making the right decisions, and these are going to lead me to the outcome I want, but I have to stick with it. It would be as crazy if there was a farmer out there that had this whole big field and he just planted a ton of corn. And then before that corn ever grew up and started producing other ears of corn, he just digs up everything and replants something else, green beans. And before those green beans ever grow, just ripping everything up, planting potatoes. And then that same farmer being super frustrated with the fact, I don't know why I'm not getting any good crops. I don't know why I'm just not happy with what's going on around me. We would look at that person as being psychotic and obviously making, some fundamental errors. But this is how almost everybody lives their life. They do these things, they start them, they don't see the results that they want, and then they just stop the process. And then this whole thing just restarts, but never gets to the place of the compound effect kicking in through time. The second thing that can happen is that people do stick with something and they start to see the compounding effect. They start to see those results, but they forgot what caused it. So they begin changing things. Very common in trading. People come into this business, they join a program like this, they get dialed in. They start learning this stuff, they start applying this stuff, they focus on the trade setups, they focus on the right management, they're doing everything correct, and then they're starting to see good results. They pass their evaluations, they get their first payout, they start to make money. And then, because this broken memory and because time is separating this out from what's causing the effect to the cause from the effect is being separated here. We can't connect the dots. And so instead of realizing that the reason I am getting good results right now is because of all these actions I took in the past, because I started this training, because I went through it, because I stayed focused, because I'm doing the right process here and I'm focusing on the right things. That's why I'm getting these good results. We can't make those connections typically. So what ends up happening is we're getting good results, but then we just start changing everything up. We start fooling ourselves into thinking that the reason we're getting good results is because we're special. We cracked the code to the market. We understand how to trade now. So that same person will now start trading with discretion. The trades that they were taking that were working, they're now taking a bunch of other trades. Or they throw in these random indicators that aren't part of the method, that aren't part of what's gotten them results. And then the seeds that they have planted that are starting to grow, they now start ripping all of those up. And they start planting other seeds. And instead of those actions that they started having the ability to really take off, they now have a whole new set of actions that they have to deal with the consequences of. A more tangible thing might be somebody, again, like health and fitness. Somebody starts a great diet. They start going to the gym. They're feeling good. They're starting to lose weight. They're starting to be more confident in their body. They're starting to feel better. And then they start cheating. Then they start doing something different. Then they start skipping workouts. And the tricky thing about this is it's not instant. You can start seeing very good results and start changing it up, and nothing's going to happen tomorrow. You can start seeing really good results in your body, have a cheat meal, and nothing is going to change in the short term. But by the time something starts to change, when you start to see the effects of it, it's too late. You've been healthy, you've been dialed in, you're feeling good about your body. You start skipping workouts, you start eating bad things, and then you get to this point where nothing changes immediately, But then at a certain point, you're back to being 10, 15 pounds overweight, not good about your body. You don't even know when you really fell off the bandwagon, but you can't really remember the last time you just put together a good week of eating clean. And the cycle just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. This is the graph we never want to forget. And we just want to stay dialed in and to remember this, that when people have results that are good, when people have results that are bad, there's no luck here. There's no chance here. It is just cause and effect. And we want to make sure that we're on the right side of this and we're not falling for these two very common errors of either not sticking with something long enough to see that compound effect kick in and to see the real power of compounding over time, and making sure that when we start to see those small results and things are starting to pick up, we don't lie to ourselves. We don't fool ourselves into messing up and confusing why we're getting those good results and pretending like we can start changing up the process and we're still going to get those amazing results. We got to stick with it and stay with everything. There is no luck in trading success or failure. There's no luck in success or failure overall. It's just the realization, the recognition of cause and effect. And when people don't understand how cause and effect works, they chalk things up to that was just bad luck or that was just unfortunate, not understanding that it's just a universal law. So what do we do about all this? And how do we make sure we get on the right side of this specifically? A few things I really want to stress. The first one is this. When we talk about understanding, become a forever student of life. Don't forget that first graph of this radar and keep that in your mind that the more we learn, the more we understand, the more the world's just going to open up to us. Again, this session right here being a perfect example. There's something in here that if we learn this, this can change everything. This can change our results. If we don't understand this, we get on the wrong side of cause and effect and we're just confused forever. But it doesn't have to be that way. So be a forever student of life and don't ever let yourself feel crazy thoughts like you got it all figured out or you know what's going on. This world is an amazing place, and the more that we learn, the more that we grow, the more we should understand that we are almost lost. There is so much more that we can learn, so much more that we can understand, and we should be committed to that. The idea of plateauing does not exist. We're either growing or we're dying. That's the reality. And if we're in this place of just kind of coasting, we're slowly dying and we don't even know it. So we should be committed to just learning and being open-minded and exploring new things and having new experiences, because this is how we understand. This is how we learn more, and we should be committed to this. You know, the good book says it: with all of your getting, get understanding. The second thing here: don't trust our memories. Verify everything. It is extremely normal to get to these places, like we looked at with the example of starting to see some good results in your trading, and not accurately remembering the fact I'm seeing good results in my trading is because I started this program. I went through all this training. I put in all these hours. I put in all this screen time. I stuck to these principles. I focused on these trade setups. That's why I'm seeing good results. But our memories can do weird things, and we can connect the dots that the reason I'm seeing good results in my trading is because I'm special, because I figured this out, because I know what to do now. And then that can cause us to making a lot of crazy, weird decisions. So we need to be able to whatever the initial things that we recall for making sense of why we have the results we have, don't trust that. It's not going to be true. It's not going to be accurate. We have to be able to verify things. We need to be able to track things and have some data that we can look at. Third thing here, excuse me, accept the fact that time compounds everything. And I really mean accept this because it's so easy to pretend that the rules do not apply to you. But we have to accept this as a fact. And there should be a certain, kind of weight or some gravity to this where we wake up a little bit and shake ourselves and realize that there is no such thing as just coming home from work, knowing that you should go to the gym, but instead you order a pizza and you sit on the couch and watch Netflix. There is no free lunch here. There's no situation where you don't have to deal with the effect of that. And the compounding is where things get very powerful. But if you go in there and you have that day where you should have worked out and you should have eaten clean, what you just did is you didn't do that action, and that action now cannot be compounded. You're messing everything up in the future. The danger is that it happens somewhere in the future where you don't remember it. So we don't understand how powerful this is. But this is what's happening. When we're trading, we can't just break our risk parameters. We can't trade outside the method. We can't do foolish actions because day to day, it's not going to make that big of a deal usually. But the process and those good actions, you just interrupted it. And now that action cannot be compounded at some point in the future. You threw in something else. So there should be some gravity of this. We need to give ourselves, freedom to be humans and understand that we are fallible and we're not machines that can, you know, dial in every single action. But we do want to just raise our level of awareness about this, of how we navigate the world, and just understand the realities that there's no just staying up late, getting drunk, getting bad sleep, and then that's not affecting us. It's affecting us. And the reality is it affects us more than we really know, because by the time we miss out on that compounded action that should have been there, or have to deal with those compounded effects of the actions we're taking, things are crazy and we don't even remember why they happened. So above all, just do not pretend like the rules don't apply to you, right? We don't want to lie to ourselves. We want to be honest with everybody, but we want to be honest with ourselves and make sure that we are on the right side of this idea of cause and effect. Here's what we covered today. We talked about why people fail to reach their goals, and how it's not luck, it's not chance, and how it's easy for this world to be set up in a way to look at people that get on in life and think, they're just this. They're just good looking. They're just come from the right family. They're just lucky. They just are smart. They're just blessed. They're just to just associate crazy reasons for why people have things and why we're not able to. Or to even feel that maybe this just isn't my life. I'm just not that kind of a person. Maybe I was just sort of born to peck around like a chicken. I wasn't really born to fly like an eagle. These things aren't true. There's just a fundamental misunderstanding of cause and effect and being on the wrong side of it. That's all. We looked at the importance of gaining understanding and how it opens up the world to us, and how it's such an error to go through life in a little echo chamber, to stop learning and to never experience everything we could. We looked at the broken nature of our memories and how when we're dealing with stuff, the things that we want to blame it on, or the things that we want to say are responsible, are not true. We don't even remember why. Cause and effect has destroyed the memory. We looked at the compounding effect that takes we looked at the effect that compound has on every single action we take. Every single action. Be not deceived. Whatsoever you sow, you have to reap. And even if you don't connect the dots, it's going to happen. We looked at the general principle of cause and effect, where we do these things, we get these results. The results that we have, positive and negative, it's not random. They all happened because of actions. And then we looked at how to get on the right side of cause and effect by making sure that we're continually learning, making sure that we're not just trusting these stories that we tell ourselves, by making sure that we don't fall into this trap of starting a process and then quitting it before we see it through, before the natural law takes grip and starts rewarding it, or making sure that as we start to see results, we don't change anything up, we don't deceive ourselves into confusing why we're getting the results that we're getting. That's what we covered in this training session. So you can take some time to process this as a training material. There should be an element of this, of a little bit of weight, of just realizing this information and then making a commitment that as we move forward, we get on the right side of this thing. And then beyond maybe some of the gravity of this information, it should also be incredibly uplifting and exciting to realize that the process of you reaching your trading goals, it's not lucky. It's not going to be chance. It's not going to be for some people, but not for you. It is for you. You can do this. We just need to, as a fundamental, make sure we get these concepts down, and then we just keep doing the right actions, keep sticking with this training, keep being committed, and at a certain level, if you need it, just have the faith that this is how the world works. This is how you navigate it. You just have to keep following this process, and the results will come. So let's get after it. You can process this session a bit. When you're ready, I will see you in the next training session.